It all started in June 1958 in Brussels. Juliet, a girl from Belgium, was visiting the new Expo 58 with her parents. It was the first world exhibition after the Second World War, and the Atomium is also located there. On the way to the Atomium, Juliet got lost and couldn't find her parents. That's when she met Gökçe, a Turkish girl.
Gökçe, dressed in a vibrant, colorful dress, caught Juliet's eye through a veil of tears. Despite the barrier of their different languages, Gökçe sensed the distressed look in the Belgian girl's eyes and drew closer. Uncertain at first, Gökçe simply reached out her hand in a gesture of support. Juliet took it, and together they began walking towards a nearby bench. They sat on a wooden bench near the fountains and shared a small piece of Turkish delight that Gökçe found in her pocket. As they watched the crowd passing by, a silent bond formed between them. A simple act of kindness had built a bridge between two different cultures. They had no way of knowing that this chance encounter, unfolding in the shadow of the Atomium, would be the beginning of a lifelong friendship.
While they were having fun, a strange figure suddenly appeared among the visitors, the Pigeon King of Brussels. He wore a long grey coat and was followed everywhere by dozens of pigeons sitting on his shoulders and arms. The Pigeon King did not like to see others having fun. When he saw Juliet and Gökçe laughing together by the fountains, he decided to ruin their new friendship. He sent his pigeons out to flutter around the girls, mess up their hair and block their paths. But no matter how hard he tried, Juliet and Gökçe kept laughing and having fun.
The Pigeon King shouted angrily, "If you don't stop laughing, I'll send you to a place from which you can never return." The girls didn't stop laughing. On the contrary, they laughed even more. The Pigeon King became very angry, and with an angry snap of his fingers, a cloud of feathers surrounded the girls and teleported them to the front of the Sumela monastery in Turkey. Juliet was frightened at first, then looked around and asked Gökçe in admiration, "Gökçe, this place is so beautiful. Where are we?" Gökçe smiled and replied, "We're in our country." He thought he was punishing us, but he gave us a gift. The girls looked around in amazement and finally decided to visit the Sumela monastery.
As the sun slowly began to set behind the mountains, Juliet and Gökçe climbed the long stone stairs leading to the monastery. The sound of birds echoed through the valley, and a cool wind carried the scent of pine trees. Inside the ancient walls of the Sumela monastery, they discovered faded paintings, hidden passages, and mysterious symbols carved into the stones. While exploring a quiet corner of the monastery, Gökçe noticed a small golden feather lying on the ground. Juliet carefully picked it up, and at that exact moment, the feather began to glow softly in her hands. The girls looked at each other in surprise. Far away, somewhere in Brussels, the Pigeon King smiled mysteriously as dozens of pigeons suddenly took flight into the evening sky.
While the girls were still looking at the golden feather, the pigeons appeared in Turkey. Juliet and Gökçe looked up. There are those pigeons again. They had something in their feet. It was fries, more especially golden yellow crispy fries with mayonnaise. Gökçe was confused, but Juliet assured her this is super tasty food from Belgium. The pigeons threw the fries down, and Juliet and Gökçe happily caught them. They ate them full, but so did the pigeons.
The girls had forgotten about the golden feather for a moment. Suddenly, Gökçe noticed it and told Juliet to watch out. The golden feather glowed brighter and brighter, then it rose into the air and spun around them like a sun. A big light surrounded Juliet, Gökçe, and the pigeons. In a flash, they were all transported back to Brussels, right in front of the Atomium. There they saw the Pigeon King standing there.
The Pigeon King was confused. Why were the girls so happy again? He thought that Juliet and Gökçe were going to be covered in fries and mayonnaise, but indeed, somehow they were eating them. Was it the pigeons, he thought? Are they sabotaging me? The pigeons had eaten so many fries that they really needed to go to the toilet. They really couldn't hold it anymore, and suddenly, splat! The Pigeon King was covered in bird poop. Another failure for him. The girls couldn't stop laughing.
Juliet felt it was time to go look for her parents. She had lost them for a while now. Hopefully they aren't too worried. Gökçe is going to help her search. Juliet knew her parents were going to visit the Atomium, so they went there. While they went inside, Gökçe admired the building and really liked the museum. Together they looked down from one of the spheres. What a view! But Juliet didn't see her parents, so they went back down. It was a shame they hadn't found them, but it was a very nice visit.
As they reached the exit of the atomium, a familiar sound echoed in the air. One of the Pigeon King's pigeons was circling above them, holding a small piece of paper in its beak. The pigeon gently dropped the paper into Gökçe's hand and soared back into the sky. On the paper there was a handwritten note and a little drawing. It was a small map showing that Juliet's parents were visiting the Turkish pavilion at Expo 58. It seemed that after all his failures, the Pigeon King wanted to make amends by secretly helping the girls.
Excitedly following the map, Juliet and Gökçe arrived in front of the Turkish pavilion. Right at that moment, Juliet spotted her parents looking around anxiously in the crowd, shouting, "Mom, Dad!" She ran towards them and gave them a huge hug. Her parents were incredibly relieved to see Juliet safe and sound. Juliet immediately pointed to Gökçe and said, "If it weren't for Gökçe, I would have never found my way. She became my best friend." Juliet's parents thanked Gökçe with eyes full of gratitude.
That evening, the two families sat together, enjoying famous Belgian chocolates and drinking warm Turkish tea. The language barrier was no match for a friendship built from the heart. This adventure, which started at Expo 58 in the shadow of the Atomium, had built an everlasting bridge of love between Belgium and Turkey. Juliet and Gökçe exchanged their addresses and promised to stay in touch forever, because they knew that true friendship, no matter how great the distance between them, would always continue in the shine of their hearts.